Hey Yang Gang, KMO here with another Out of My Head video. Thanks very much to Colin for posting the Yang video yesterday. I know a lot of you took offense, but you got to be able to take disagreement in stride. That is not just a trick for winning elections, it is a trick for living an effective life. So today I am going to respond to some feedback from viewers. First, Jeff asks, KMO, in 2016 you were a Bernie supporter. Can you explain why you made the switch to Yang and maybe contrast those two candidates from your perspective? I'm going to be brief here because there's a bigger issue and some longer feedback to share, but here's the thing. In 2016, it was Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton was offering nothing in terms of policy that addressed my concerns. I'm not going to sit here and bash Hillary Clinton, even though I could with some vigor. That's not productive, but really, it was a no-brainer. If the options are Hillary Clinton, neoliberal stooge, or Bernie Sanders, Democratic Socialist, even me, a libertarian, or, recovering libertarian, I'm going to go with Bernie Sanders. Also, I live in Vermont. He's my senator. Next, this is the long one, and this is the disturbing one, I have to say. Nash Ridgeback writes, well, since you posted this video, and he's talking about my video, Andrew Yang's Sensible Gun Policy, since you posted this video, Yang has changed his policy on guns and not for the better. I am out of the Yang gang. From a Reddit post on Yang's gun policy change that sums it all up for me. Some that had been trying to convince to vote for Andrew Yang were saying that Yang wants to take away our guns. I argued that this simply was not true, that Yang wanted sensible gun laws and background checks, training requirements, and tiered licensing. All this was logical, data-driven, and fact-based, as Yang usually is. Sensible. Now, I have to tell them they were right. Worse, Yang has made me a liar, because as of now, I have to agree with these Americans' initial fears and suspicions. Create a clear definition of assault weapon and prevent their manufacture and sale. Yang 2020 policy page. I'll pause there and say I went and looked at the Yang's 2020 policy page. It has changed since I made my video on his gun policy. What this viewer is reporting is factually accurate. This line from the policy page is unacceptable. Obviously, any definition of assault weapon would necessarily include the AR-15, the very weapon used in the specific shooting incidents that have spurred this reactionary policy change. Preventing the manufacture and sale of such weapons would only punish law-abiding, responsible citizens and deprive them of their constitutional right. Andrew Yang indeed now demonstrates he wants to infringe upon our Second Amendment rights. I will no longer support Yang. I have not left Andrew Yang. I didn't change. Andrew Yang changed. Andrew Yang left me. His change in policy was reactionary, emotion-driven, and wholly unsuitable for someone who wants to be President of the United States. We were once not left, not right, but forward. But this leaves you not right, just left, and totally skewed. I will not be donating or supporting Andrew Yang for 2020 any longer. I must now apologize to others that I have tried to convince them to vote for Yang. Americans would be foolish to vote away their own rights. I am devastated. I am out. And along those same lines, Rex writes, I agree with a lot of his policies, but the high-capacity magazines is BS. I am not going to give up the right to own magazines over an arbitrary number made up by some person who doesn't have my rights in mind. 10 round, 15 round, 20 round? When does it become high capacity? There should not be a restriction on that at all. Also, I don't agree with mandatory gun safes for all guns, because if you own, let's say, a few rifles and you store them in a safe, that's normal. But it's also normal to, in addition, have, let's say, a Glock in the nightstand. So if someone breaks in, it's there, and they have fast access. Okay, so we've got a lot of issues here relating to guns. I'll lay my cards on the table. I support the Second Amendment. I support gun rights. I myself don't own any. And it's largely just a matter of, the priority of owning one and going and getting the training and, being a responsible gun owner. I just have too much on my plate right now. And that's been my position for, a couple decades. Really, in my personal priorities, it doesn't rise to the level of me taking action. So, Andrew Yang presents himself as somebody who bases his policy positions on rationality and data and, above all, math, right? Math. Most gun violence is committed with handguns. I think this statistic may be out of date, but I think as of 2016, rifles accounted for 3% of gun crimes, and assault rifles is a subset of rifles. Andrew Yang must understand this. If he respects data-driven positions and math as much as he claims to, and I believe that he does, then basing gun laws which infringe upon the rights of American citizens based on mass shootings, that's not data-driven. That is emotion-driven. That is caving in to the hysteria of the moment. So a few days ago, I took down, or I unlisted a lot of my old videos because a lot of them, I was doing videos on a variety of topics, and I realized that Yang voters would not be interested in a lot of those topics. Like, I'm interested in fasting. I did a lot of videos on fasting. Unlisted all those. I'm going to go and relist one. It's pretty old. I think it's from maybe 2017, but here it is. Here's an image of it. You can't click on it because I don't know how to put a clickable image in a video just yet, but I'll have a link to it in the show notes. Basically, mass shootings, in terms of the danger that guns present, they are statistically irrelevant. But the news media inundates us. If there's a mass shooting anywhere, we get 24-hour coverage of it for days on end, and everybody goes into emotional hysterics. That's no basis for sound policy, and Andrew Yang understands this. I am imagining that he is bowing to pressure from within his campaign or from other Democrats to adopt these irrational policies toward guns. Now, high-capacity magazines. Again, this is something Andrew Yang absolutely has to understand. I know he understands this. In the age of the 3D printer, there is no way that you can ban high-capacity magazines. A magazine, a clip, is basically a box with a spring in it. There is no way to restrict the manufacture of boxes with springs in them. That is really disappointing. So, all that said, Andrew Yang is still my candidate. And here's why. My issue is artificial intelligence, automation, and its effect on the economy, its effect on people's ability to find economic relevance, to make a living, to earn a living. I have two sons. One is 18, the other is 15. They are going to have to be venturing into the job market here in the next few years. And I really worry because I agree with everything Andrew Yang says about automation and its effects on people's ability to earn money. That's my issue. So, yes, this irrational turn on the Second Amendment and firearms, very disappointing. It is irrational to pass unenforceable laws. It just breeds disrespect for government. You cannot enforce a ban on high-capacity magazines in the age of the 3D printer. It's simply impossible. The AR-15 is, if not the best-selling weapon, one of the best-selling weapons in the United States. It's very popular. Most of the people who own them, the vast majority of the people who own them, do not commit crimes with them. Most gun crimes are committed with pistols. Focusing on long guns and referencing the hysteria around mass shootings, which are tragic. It is tragic if you lose a loved one in a mass shooting, but it's tragic if you lose a loved one in a car crash or if you lose a loved one to cancer or heart disease. It's awful. It's awful if you lose a loved one to suicide, as I have. But it doesn't justify passing unenforceable laws. So, yes, very disappointed in the Yang campaign today, but at the same time, I'm still in the Yang gang because gun rights, it's not my issue. So with apologies to, my fellow libertarians or former libertarians or, libertarian sympathetic viewers, the change on gun policy is not enough to make me vote for somebody else in the Democratic primary. And in fact, I will continue to make these videos promoting Andrew Yang's sensible policies, and I will continue, as I can afford to support the Yang campaign with financial contributions, as I hope you will as well. And respectfully communicate to the Yang campaign, if you share my opinion on this matter, that this was an irrational turn and it weakens Andrew Yang's overall message, and it will not appease the faction of the left that it is meant to appease. All right, that is all. Have a good day. I will talk to you again tomorrow.